This is a brief documentary of the 17th Field Artillery Regiment as told through relics found while metal detecting a disused training area in North Carolina. I received exclusive permission to use a metal detector on a small 3-acre field. However, it is a known training area that was frequently used by the 17th Field Artillery Regiment while elements of that regiment were stationed at Camp Bragg, later designated Fort Bragg in North Carolina. This video will feature history segments with metal detecting footage relating to the 17th Field Artillery, specifically the transition from livestock drawn guns to the gas horses as the trucks were called. The 17th Field Artillery Regiment was constituted on July 1, 1916 and organized on June 6, 1917. Although the 17th Field Artillery Regiment was widely spread out, they were active at Camp Bragg from 1917 to 1922, and again at Fort Bragg from 1938 until they were deployed to fight in World War II. After the war, elements of the 17th Field Artillery Regiment were assigned to various forts. The unit would undergo numerous reorganizations, redesignations, and deactivations. Only one active duty unit remains of the 17th Field Artillery Regiment, and that is the 2nd Stryker Brigade Combat Team in Washington. The guns commonly used in the era of pre-World War II were the M3 105mm howitzer, various cannon, and the M1897 Martin Perry French 75mm gun, to name only a couple. Field artillery during the post-World War I era had weaponry ranging from a 3-inch gun to a 155mm howitzer. Some 105mm shell casings were found on the field as well.
I only got the cap of it. Let me see if I can get the rest of it out. I'll clean this up, see if it has any markings on the bottom. Could be, well, I see a primer hole right there. See it? This is probably a shell for a 75mm howitzer or something.
There were numerous pieces of horse tack, chain, and other relics pertaining to horses, mules, and oxen found while metal detecting this area. Mixed in with the horse tack were old vehicle parts.
Just had a slamming signal, but it was a looks like a vehicle part.
Hubcaps, a Ford kerosene lamp part,
Piece of a kerosene lamp. Probably went on an old vehicle.
and lots of valve stem covers from early automobiles. Maneuvering artillery pieces around a battlefield was a slow and cumbersome process with beasts drawing the guns. This led to the decision to let trucks haul the artillery. The 17th Field Artillery Regiment became the first to transition from a horse-drawn to a vehicle-drawn artillery regiment. Of course, bigger vehicles could haul bigger guns, so very large guns were hauled using tracked vehicles. Extremely large guns were even mounted on trains during World War II. As you can see, the shells are very heavy and difficult to move to the gun. The first significant target I dug was a Great Seal coat button, followed by a very nice Alpha battery collar disc.
And it's an artillery button. It's got the cross cannons with an A on it.
Alpha Battery was constituted on July 1st, 1916 and organized on June 6, 1917 at Camp Robinson in Wisconsin. Alpha Battery was assigned to the 2nd Division at Camp Bragg on September 21, 1917, where training would be conducted prior to service in World War I. The Bravo Battery collar disc was very exciting because now I had both Alpha Battery and Bravo Battery collar discs. Bravo Battery trained at Camp Bragg prior to and after fighting in World War I and again at Camp Bragg prior to World War II. It was a while later that I found a very old but identifiable unit crest.
Surrounded by ants, but I pull it out, and it is the crest of the 17th Field Artillery Regiment.
Bravo Battery is also assigned to the 2nd Division as 2nd Battalion, 17th Field Artillery Regiment. When I found my 2nd unit crest, I decided to make a display using some of the relics I found and send it to the only remaining active duty unit from the 17th Field Artillery Regiment. It was well received, and I was informed by the commander that it would go on the wall in their battalion heritage room. The display included a Great Seal button, a Bravo Battery collar disc, 2 M1919 equipment marking tags, and 2 17th Field Artillery unit crests. Sometime later, I found a 3rd 17th Field Artillery crest and a very nice U.S. color disc. The field seemed to be giving up the history on a regular basis.
I got an 82 signal, and I pull it out, and this is an awesome collar disc. It's broken on the back, but wow. All I can say is wow. I am speechless. And there. Look at that. Yeah, buddy. Let's get a date out of this. (1917), 2nd year. I was hoping for a Merc, but I think this is better. It's an old buckle from Horse Tech. Old brass one with a brass tongue. I'm sure with a little coaxing I can get it to work.
I was not expecting to find a Charlie Battery color disc, but I did, and it was very close to the road and only an inch below the surface.
Oh, that's a nice one there.
A Charlie Battery one. Oh man, I gave the Bravo one away. I'm really happy with that one. So I got an Alpha Bravo and a Charlie Battery one out of here.
Charlie Battery was assigned to the 2nd Division as 3rd Battalion, Charlie Battery, 17th Field Artillery Regiment. Charlie Battery saw a lot of action in France during World War I. They bitterly fought against the Germans at Aisne-Marne in 1917. Fought their way through Saint Mihiel in 1917. Participated in the intense Battle of the Meuse-Argonne offensive in 1917 that involved 1.2 million Americans. They saw battle at Alsace, Lorraine in 1918 and the Ile-de-France offensive in 1918 and helped bring victory to the Allies in Europe. On the same day I found my 2nd Bravo Battery collar disc, Craig found a Delta Battery collar disc. This got me thinking that the entire 17th Field Artillery Regiment was stationed at Camp Bragg from 1917 until they were tasked with participating in World War I in the European theater. At one point, we changed locations to where a train depot had once stood. Craig found an Echo Battery collar disc at that site along with some components of a mess kit.
A, B, C, D, but not E. Wow, that's nice, man. Didn't know there was an Echo Battery here. Let me get this. Outstanding.
Beat up, rusty old knife.
That is cool, man. I bet if you clean that up, it says US on it. That is cool. That looks like an old mess knife. Wow.
Echo Battery also served in France during the Battle of the Aisne-Marne, the Bloody Battle of Saint-Mihiel, the carnage at Meuse-Argonne, Lorraine in 1918, and the offensive at Ile-de-France in 1918. They were inactivated at Camp Bragg on August 1st, 1922. After many redesignations, reassignments, reliefs, and deactivations, they were ultimately deactivated on January 15, 1996 at Fort Sill, Oklahoma. No Foxtrot Battery collar disc was found at the site, but Foxtrot Battery was assigned to the 2nd Division at Camp Bragg on September 21, 1917. However, there was a 17th Field Artillery Ford motorized battery at Fort Bragg in the mid-1930s. They were also tasked to manage, train, and maintain the new fleet of vehicles that were recently purchased from the Ford Motor Company. This leads us into a transition from horse to motorized. The buildings that once housed some of the horse stables are still standing on Woodruff Street on Fort Bragg, North Carolina. Other stables located across Riley Road have been gone for several years. Looking at some of the early aerial photos of Camp Bragg, it is fascinating to know that most of the earliest buildings that housed soldiers in the early years of Camp Bragg are still standing and are still in use. On September 1st, 1930, the sum of $12,000 was allocated to the Ford Motor Company, who won the bid to provide the 17th Field Artillery Regiment with 11 1.5-ton trucks, 5 station wagons, complete with modifications. The funding was approved on November 9, 1931, and the Ford Motor Company won the bid on February 10, 1932. The vehicles were delivered to representatives of the Quartermaster Corps on March 30, 1932. 4 gun trucks were driven to Rock Island Arsenal on the Mississippi River to pick up the guns. The trucks were further driven to Holabird, Maryland on April 1, 1932 to receive body modifications and have towing pintos installed. While the trucks were receiving the modifications, the soldiers received training on repair and overhaul procedures by a team of Ford instructors. The vehicles were driven from Camp Holabird, Maryland to Washington, D.C. in a little over 2 hours. This photograph was taken on May 5, 1932. The convoy then moved to the U.S. Army War College located at Fort McNair, Virginia. Pictured here is one of 5 specially designated station wagons that had added tent flies on the sides and rear of the vehicle. The flies could be extended for a shaded command post. The Model AA trouble truck had a 157-inch wheelbase and was used for recovering and supporting the gun trucks. The Ford Battery spent 1932 and 1933 conducting maneuvers and training on the vehicles. On January 3, 1933, Delta Battery was ordered to Fort Ethan Allen, Vermont to train in the ice and snow. One of the Ford standard trucks was modified as a rolling kitchen that could cook food on the road using coal-fueled stoves. 15 minutes after stopping, hot chow could be served to the hungry troops. Upon completion of the winter training, the convoy returned to Fort Bragg, where more vehicles would be ordered to phase out the horse-drawn artillery. By the time the United States was involved in World War II, almost all field artillery units had become motorized. Thank you for watching this documentary. If you enjoyed the video, please click the thumb up icon and click subscribe so you won't miss another interesting video.